TV show called Blind Spot. But in terms of where that character is, I feel like I read something that was like explained that away. Yeah, and yeah, you're right. She's just not there. And since we're like kind of on the topic of Thor's buddies, like I didn't really love how unceremoniously the Warriors 3 were dispatched.
Oh, I like that. I think that gave, so that was something I noticed. I think that gave like that was like the moment for me.
Sure.
Like, she's not messing around, and she can just, it can just happen that fast, I actually like that because, okay, so let's talk about another itis in the superhero thing is the whole main characters having a long dragged out fight itis. Like, like you get tired of that stuff. Oh, they have to have a fight. And a good example of this, even though it's not a superhero movie, is friggin' the Battle of Five Armies, the third Hobbit movie, where it's like Legolas has to have a fight with this guy, and these people. There's like boss monsters now in the Lord of the Rings, and it's like this is completely unnecessary, and like. And it's just like these fights go on for so long, and it was refreshing to see like some main characters just like killed in a second by like a new villain that comes on the scene,
Yeah, maybe. I mean, I guess I can see that point, but for me, like the Warriors 3 are such a key part of Thor's, lore from the comics that like just to see them go down like chumps was not really satisfying to me.
I think it fit the theme of the movie too, with like this is the whole fabric of reality basically is falling apart, like real, like in reality and metaphorically. Like the Warriors 3 are just, they're not there anymore. Like at least two, like Hela shows up and, oh my gosh, I almost said, and all hell breaks loose, but like,
and but then you still did. Good job.
That's basically what it was. But at least I acknowledged that it was terrible. Yeah. So, and I think that sort of fits the whole, like, everything is having to be like redone, like the world completely fell apart and now we have to rebuild it. No, and that was one of the themes I loved was like this whole like growing into this realization that like Asgard doesn't have to be a place.
Yeah.
That's like, it's the people. And so then, it's wherever they go. And now they're on this spaceship and who knows where they're going to end up,
Yep. Apparently where they're going to end up is meeting up with Thanos at the end of the movie.
Yeah. And I loved how the movie like tied the beginning, like it was like a full circle, right?
Right. Because the first Thor movie starts off with him almost getting crowned. And then he does at the end of the third movie. And I love that they tie it in musically too, because I love the theme music from the first Thor movie so much, and I really enjoyed that theme was musically woven back in at his like sort of coronation scene at the end of Ragnarok. Yeah. I like that a lot.
And I'm almost trying too hard to point out all these ways in which this is not the terrible third movie in a trilogy.
No, it really isn't. It is not the terrible third movie. No, it's not.
and how like there are threads that tie like all the way back through to make this like one contiguous story, even though it's so different from the other ones. And so, like you were mentioning, like you have the whole like Thor being king is like sort of this arc through all three, right? Like, is he going to be king or not? Like the first one, he's like almost crowned, but isn't. The second one, he rejects the crown. And the third one, his kingdom is destroyed and now he's king.
Yeah.
It's really cool. And also, speaking of like threads that like go through the three movies, every single Thor movie makes me love Heimdall that much more.
So like there's a Lego sort of cartoon version of some Marvel stuff, and in the first one, Loki is kind of the villain, and he has this sort of like he has like these ridiculous like innocuous like things that he swears, and one of his swears in this Lego cartoon is Heimdall's eyeballs.
That's funny, but like I always I didn't. So here's what happened with me is like. I didn't realize how great of a character he was until I rewatched like Thor 1 and 2. Mm-hmm. And like in the first one he's pretty cool. In the second one when he like single-handedly takes one of the Dark Elves ships out, you know, when it's coming in, it's like, oh, Heimdall's a badass. And then in this one how he's sort of like, you know, has taken to sort of being a Robin Hood-ish type figure, you know, where the kingdom's falling apart, but he's still like, because he can see everything happening, right? Like he's still in the background, like climbing up the sides of the cliffs to take the sword that operates, you know, the Bifrost, and like gathering all the people and protecting them from the undead minions and things like that. Also, going back to Norse mythology, did you notice on the hideout where they were in the cave, like there was they sort of didn't ever show it in full, but there was a relief of Yggdrasil. The world tree was like on the door. I just thought that was a cool little like. Oh,
you know, maybe I didn't.
Norse mythology thing that they put in there.
I feel like I noticed it the first time, but now that you mentioned it, I don't think I saw it the second time because I was busy taking notes.
So, and here's maybe another reason why I like Hela is just because Cate Blanchett plays such a great evil sorceress. Like, like even her like short time when she was Galadriel and she started imagining what it would be like to have the One Ring. Like she is so good at that of like just being so like threateningly scary.
Yeah, casually menacing.
Yes, she's so good at that. Yeah. That's one reason why she was perfectly cast for this and she did such a great job.
She played it well. She definitely played it well. Just for me, the character didn't really work.
I can see why. I can see why he didn't like it.
But one other thing that sort of like slightly made me give this movie the side eye is that our God of Thunder and Lightning spends roughly half the movie getting electrocuted.
Yeah, well, he did that in the first movie too. He got tased.
Yeah.
And I did raise my eyebrows at like how is he even able to be electrocuted if he is the God of Thunder?
In the first movie, I can explain that away. In the first movie, he didn't have his powers. So
yeah, okay.
Your argument is invalid on that one.
But okay, I mean, I don't think it is because clearly he, you know, is capable of being electrocuted. It must be that we just don't understand how it works.
Electricity works different in space. Okay.
No, that's not my argument at all.
I know. All right. Okay, well, we need to start wrapping this up here. Is there anything else that you wanted to mention, Jeff?
Let me see.
Oh, one of my favorite lines from this movie is that "we're friends from work" was actually improvised. I like that.
Oh, really? I didn't know that. Yeah. I thought the "let's do get help" gag was hilarious.
That's good. And on the rewatch, I enjoyed that sort of being foreshadowed a little bit in the stage play because he says, "Run and go get help."
Oh, that's funny. Yeah. So what I loved about that, though, is you expect it to be one thing. Like, so you see him coming in, right? Help, my brother's injured. And you expect, you know, Loki to just, like, stab the guy or something. Right. Instead, Thor just throws him at the guy.
Yeah. Yep, that's good.
It's so funny. And also the line that made me laugh was, they call you the stupid Avenger.
That was good. And again, for as many gags as sort of like fell flat on rewatch, there is still plenty that really, really work. Like, yes, that's how it feels. Like, that's funny.
I wrote that one. Like Loki's reaction to Hulk is so funny and so appropriate because he hasn't really seen him since he got smacked. You know, like the puny god line on The Avengers, right?
And also
and
something...
like just like the look on his face, how his whole countenance changes and demeanor.
I have to get off this planet.
Yes.
Also, something that's never not funny is Devil's Anus.
Yes, that is funny. Okay, so one more thing that I really wanted to point out was in this movie, Loki gets to do what he loves to do. And that's one thing that I loved about it. Like at the end of the movie, there are some other places too, but like at the end of the movie, and this is why I loved it, this whole like, I love it when Thor and Loki work together, right? Mm-hmm. And like at the end, when Thor realizes the only way he's going to stop Hela is to let Ragnarok happen.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's something Loki would do. And like Loki gets to go do it, right? Loki gets to run back into the palace, grab the crown of I always forget his name.
Surtur's
and like,
crown, yeah.
This is like something he would do just for kicks. Like,
right.
You know what I mean? Like, and I just love, he gets to do what he loves to do. And the other thing he loves to do, you might have been just about to say this, is like show up and pretend to be everyone's savior, right?
I wasn't going to say that. I was going to say there is absolutely 0% chance that Loki doesn't have the Tesseract at this point.
Oh, you're right. I never thought about that. Yeah.
And this is probably how Thanos ends up with the Tesseract.
So okay, I know we're like over time now, but I had a question about this because I forgot. You know, they're in like the vault with Hela.
Yeah. And
she's, I thought it was funny too. There's the Infinity Gauntlet. I think that's what it was, sitting there, and she's like, fake.
Yep.
So my question is in Thor 1 or 2, did we ever see the Infinity Gauntlet sitting there before?
It's like a super, super, super blink and you'll miss it, like as they're walking through the hall in Thor 1.
And see that I love that it was in there, and it made people go like, "Oh, there's where the Infinity Gauntlet is. Thanos is going to get his hands on it at some point." But then in this movie, they totally turn it on its head, and it's just fake.
Yeah.
And it like sets it up for the whole Infinity War thing too.
Yeah. Well, by the time this episode comes out, which I hope is really, really soon after we're done recording it here, we will be barely a week away from Infinity War. So many of these questions in regards to the Infinity Gauntlet will be shortly answered, and that's exciting.
Yay. Also, I said the last thing was the last thing, but I thought the Bruce Banner and Thor banter, like back and forth in the town, was hilarious. Like, I think they did that really well. Also hilarious how, like, when he's talking to Hulk, he's like, "No, I prefer you to Banner." And when he's talking to Banner, he's like, "Oh, I prefer you to Hulk."
The other thing that I thought was really funny about his interaction with Banner is how he keeps trying to use like the lullaby. It's like the sun's getting real low.
Yes.
Sun's going down. Sun's getting real low.
Stop saying that. Okay. This is really the last thing. We have to talk about this though.
Okay, go ahead.
We have to encourage people, if they haven't seen it, to go watch Team Thor. Because,
oh my gosh, yes.
Because like you said, like, there seems to be this abrupt change between the Dark World and Ragnarok. But if you watch Team Thor, you'll realize, like, at least with Thor's character, it's really not that abrupt. And you had said it, you were glad you had seen that before you had seen Ragnarok, because Thor's character in Ragnarok would have seemed so much more absurd if you hadn't seen Team Thor and him, like, sort of being like a silly doofus.
Yeah. On the note of Thor being a doofus, like all of his time spent at Doctor Strange's sanctum is him just being a doofus, like, and knocking everything over and like destroying.
Like he's just more oafish.
He is. He's
also that oaf. Doctor Strange cameo is fantastic.
It was fantastic, and
especially the part where Loki's like, "What kind of second-rate sorcerer?" And he's just like, "All right,
okay, bye." Yeah. Yep. All right. Good stuff. Well, from here, it's been a while since we've had one of these, and it's been a while since we recorded it, just to give you guys a little bit of a look behind the mirror, or behind the curtain. But we are going to have a long-awaited segment of Understand a Random Fandom, and Jeff is going to explain Pokemon to Joshua.
We are? I didn't know this was happening today.
I mean, it's happening today, right now, before your very ears. In
we didn't already do this?
Continuous line. Shh! It's happening now.
I'm such an